Hello and welcome to Mesut Live. I am Mert, and today we are going to talk about Azure certifications with Derek Campbell, or you know him as DevOps Derek from social media. Derek, welcome. Long time no see.
Well, I saw you in ages, mate. It's not like we just did a show together as well. No, I'm good
Yeah,
though. I'm good. Thanks for asking. What about yourself? How's things?
yeah, I'm fine. Thank you.
Awesome.
So, if you are already following Derek on Twitter, you saw that he passed several exams in a short time. Congratulations, by the way.
Thank
So,
you.
how many exams have you set recently?
So this year in total, I've sat 5 exams. I've done the AZ 900, the DP 900. I'm currently just about to sit the AI 900, and then I've also sat the two the Azure Architect exams and the Azure Administrator exam. So yeah, five total. As of this time next week, it will be six, hopefully. It's been quite a journey. I kind of set myself a work objective because what it is I've been working with Microsoft technologies for a long time, and I am a Microsoft certified system administrator. I was an MCSA back in ye olde times, and this year it was like people were talking about Microsoft certifications, and what it is my wife is actually pregnant. So it was one of those ones. It was like,
Congratulations.
thank you. It was like one of those ones. I was like, I really want to do Azure exams, and then it's like, and suddenly firstborn. At that point, I'm like, I should probably do this before the baby comes, because I think finding study time would be a little bit more problematic once the son lands. So, yeah. So this year, kind of particularly in the past few months. Well, actually, I'd done the AZ 900 back in March, and then I was studying for the administrator exam, and there was lots of stuff to go through. So I kind of took my time, and then from there it was like, right, you have, it's not like he's suddenly going to be born 3 months later. So I was like, right, okay, I need to kind of do this. So over the past 6 weeks, I've sat three exams. I've got a fourth coming in on Sunday. And before that, it was actually, sorry, five exams because I sat that one in July. So the Azure Administrator exam. So it's been awesome because the thing I like about certifications, and it's not everybody's for certifications. The thing I like about it is it forces you to study the edge. Um, so like even the AZ 900, the AI 900, the DP 900. Honestly, I learned so much doing these fundamentals. Like like the Azure one. I'm not sure I'd have passed any of them, right? Just like I've done a lot of data stuff, but then at the same time, is with the data one, it went the fundamentals. It does start very low level, but at the same time, it actually gave me gaps in my it identified gaps in my knowledge that I didn't even know about. The fundamentals have been actually some of my favorite stuff. They're a good bit easier and don't take 3 months to study for. That's always a good thing. But yeah, it's been a busy old year when it comes to certifications. I won't lie, I'm most proud of my architect exam. I did those a few weeks ago. I did, and one thing I would do there is if you are going for the architect exam, where possible, try and do the admin exam. I found the content for the admin exam and the architect exam fairly similar. However, it's more about where you're looking at it. Like for instance, the admin's very hands-on, it's very low level. It's like this is some PowerShell, do this. And check and identify problems. Like the architect exam, it's split into two separate exams. And what I did there was obviously you get the technology, so it's all about different. If you want to learn about Azure Front Door, for instance, and find out all the nitty gritty details. And then the 304, obviously both of these are only just out of beta as well. But with those, with the 304, it's more based on the design aspect. And it's funny because I honestly thought I'd failed it. When I done my 303, which is the technologies exam, I sat down and I was like ready to hit next. I'd done it, and it was like 2 hours of an exam. Um, I was ready just to hit next, but at the same time, I was like, I don't know. So I was a little bit unsure, but I hit next, and thankfully, I got 76%. Um, bit lower than my normal pass rate, if I'm being honest. But at the end of the day, a pass is a pass. The 304 actually wasn't too bad. The 304 wasn't too bad. I actually found that I got 92, 93% on that one. Um, Again, I wasn't too sure I had passed until I saw the big. I was like, excellent. I'm not gonna lie, like I loved learning. It was great. I'm not sure I'd want to do it anytime soon again. It's awesome. I think what the problem it's the width and the depth of knowledge that you need to go in. And the thing, what I would say is, there's lots and lots of tips and tricks and everything I want to share with you. But the biggest thing is get on Microsoft.com, get on docs.microsoft.com, find the exam that you're going to do, download. You can actually see exactly what you're going to be marked on, and as well as that, don't be afraid to use and pay for services. Um, like I'm a big fan of sitting exams before, like test exams. So try and use test exams, all that sort of good stuff. But to start at the very beginning, yeah, this year has been a bit hectic. But obviously with COVID, it felt like a good time to do it as well. Because suddenly, COVID kicking off in 2020, suddenly I've got a lot more spare time. So what I wanted to do was get through, learn as much as I possibly can on Azure, because I've been using Azure since 2013. Um, so do you know, it's one of those things that I really found quite funny was you don't realize how much you don't know until you start knowing some of the stuff. And the thing is it get me was like machine learning or AI, no idea, like never, barely ever touched it before. So jumping in and doing that, the data fundamentals definitely improved the base level of my knowledge. Um, so yeah, and then obviously moving on from there, the admin exam. I don't do a lot of administration, so that did take a little bit of time. Um, but like that, yeah, you can basically go from zero to hero in Azure in maybe 12 months. That's with maybe not quite a huge amount of background as well.
Okay.
Um,
And so you said that we have lots of spare time because of the COVID. So how did
yes,
you do the exams? Was it from home or you have to go somewhere and wear mask?
thankfully not. I did it all from home. I so you can do it from home. I think actually it's generally the preferred method now. So what I did was I've done exams and from the home in the past, and that's great. Sometimes though, I found it easier because I've done it in Pearson View or also Prometric, I think it used to be. So I've done all those a long time ago. The thing I like about doing it at home is you control everything. Um, One of the things I would say is right. So you can book your exam online from obviously Pearson View's website. What I like about it is setting everything up from home is I can actually I can set up the entire space exactly how I like it. And one of the things that I didn't like about going in and doing the exams is the monitors were tiny. So one of the tips that I would give you is you're only allowed a single screen. So when you're doing the exam, the setup is very formal. Um, but you're only allowed one screen. So if you have a laptop, the only screen you're allowed to have on the laptop is the laptop screen. So I've got a laptop here, but I've got dual 34-inch ultra wide. So like that, I would have to have taken that all apart, hidden it, just had a laptop in on the desk. So what I did was I actually have a spare bedroom. So from that point, I put in a table, put in a chair, put a small desktop in. I've got a little Alienware Alpha. So it's a tiny little box about this size. So set up a desk. I set up a 23-inch ultra wide, and then a keyboard and a mouse. One thing just to be aware of: if you are doing it from home and you do decide to go with that setup, you need to have a camera. So you need to have a webcam. So I have a USB webcam, so I hooked that up, and then from there my workspace was set up. One thing just to be aware of is you can actually do the system setup test the day before. So when you book the exam, you'll get an email, um, and they'll give you a link to a system test. So you can go on, make sure it's everything's working the way it should be. That's that's making sure your Wi-Fi's on, the video's on. So definitely do that the day before, and don't do what a friend did recently. Don't try and do Windows updates a couple of hours beforehand. That can go very badly wrong. Where possible, do the window updates after you've done the exam. But yeah, you can do it from home. The main thing I'd say is make sure you have a space that's clean and quiet. I've got two dogs, so no space in my house is clean and quiet, because if you're in that space, the dogs are in that one. So make sure if you've got any, if you have children, you have dogs, a wife, a husband, partner, whatever, keep them away from you, because any sort of any if anyone comes into the room and is caught on camera, instant fail. Um, Make sure your Wi-Fi, where possible, try and use Ethernet. Again, you can have some problems. I did actually have Wi-Fi problems one exam, and thankfully I didn't move, but I managed to communicate by shouting at my wife, "Please restart the modem," and it came back up, and then I was able to continue. But just with that, you are recorded as you're doing your exam. So obviously, if there's any sort of problems, if they hear anything, just where possible, try and keep everyone. Try, give give the husband, the wife, the dogs, the kids, anything just to go out of the house. Because the exams can go like more like the architect exam was 3 hours in total. It took me about best part of 2 hours for each one, whereas the fundamentals exams, they're 90 minutes, but really 60. And in actual fact, I only took about 20 minutes to do each one. So you can get an idea roughly whatever the exam time is. I normally half it and then add about, well, I normally think it's about 60% of the time that you're, it kind of give or take. But yeah, I set it all up from home, but just make sure you've got your space is clean. That you won't be interrupted, and also just beforehand, you can either use your mobile phone, because what will happen is when you're signing up for it, they'll ask your telephone and they'll send you a code, and you can, because one of the things that you do have to do is provide valid ID, that be a driver's license or a passport. Then at that point, you go in, and then there's actually someone watching you at the other end, and they'll talk to you through as well. So if there's any sort of problems, if it does pop up and there's a chat, don't worry about it. It's just sometimes there's some additional checks. Like for instance, you're not allowed any paper or phones nearby. I once had an A4 ream of paper, and you know, I have my monitor on top of it, and I was told to remove it, and that's cool. So just where possible, keep it nice and clean.
So I thought that taking an exam at home would be easier, but I think it is not. So which one do you prefer, at home
At
or
home,
taking
yeah,
from at home?
100% from home, because you can control everything. And to be honest, when I went into the old, and don't be wrong, this is 10, 11, 12 years ago in London, the exam centre was a bit smelly. It wasn't a pleasant experience. Whereas you can control everything in your home. And you've normally got better IT equipment as well. So definitely from home. But if I had to, I'd go and sit it in an exam, in a centre. But the one thing to be aware of just now, Azure aren't doing any um, labs, so you don't have to do anything live. Traditionally, you do normally, but what it is because of COVID, obviously um, they can't actually host the labs on Azure just now. So it's maybe something we'll pick up in a year or so. But yeah, definitely do it in the house. Just make sure no one's about.
Okay, great. So do you have any tips to tell people taking their first Microsoft examination?
Definitely start with the fundamentals. You might think just in the title, fundamentals is maybe too basic for you. It's not. Honestly, the I've been using Azure since what 2013, um, and honestly, I I really not only did I gain stuff um, from the exam, but what I actually found was, sorry, from studying is the fundamentals. They'll give you a much wider base. Like for instance, yeah, you want to talk Azure VMs? Yeah, cool. I can talk about that all day. But it's also about capex versus opex, and it's about understanding the business model for it. But there's also you get a baseline of so many different services as well, and that's where the data fundamentals was really cool. I learned a bunch there that I just didn't know about. But definitely start with the fundamentals, and also quite often one person to follow on Twitter is Tech Trainer Tim. You can often get these exams for free as well. So Microsoft often what they'll do is they'll do these free courses. So you'll get a free exam certification, so that you can then code that you can then go into and buy the exam. So you could do all this for free. So they'll give you the free training. Then at the end of the free training, they'll give you an exam voucher that you can then go and get certified in. Definitely start with the fundamentals. I've got a few lined up still that I want to do, but fundamentals, and then you've got I done the Azure administrator. What I would say is there's a few exam providers out there that I would generally not like measure up. I don't want to be negative, but I did not like measure up. It cost quite a lot of money. What I did like about it was the free retake. So if you pass an exam on measure up, you get but you fail the exam, then they'll pay for your. So I was like, yeah, that's great. That gives me that guarantee without having to pay for the two exam pack that you can get. But the thing is, what I found with Measure Up was it was so inherently hard. It actually put me off from doing the exam because I was doing, I was using WizLabs or other exam providers, and I was getting like 90%. I was like, this is awesome. And then I was doing Measure Up, and I was getting like 55%, and I'm like, why is this the case? But so what happened is I spoke to a few other friends, and they were all the same. Like it really kind of, to me personally, derailed me probably by about 3 months because I just had this assumption that the exam was going to be so hard, much like the measure up exam. But in actual fact, I found the exams that I've sat so far quite a lot easier than the measure up exams. So that's one thing I would do there. But yeah, definitely start with the fundamentals, move into the admin, and then from there, definitely move into. So how it works is you've got like 1 star, which is your fundamentals, 2 stars like associate. So the administrator exam is the associate, and then 300. Sorry, and then you'll get obviously the expert, and that's where the architect one is as well. And for instance, there is also developer based. I come from an operations background, moving into DevOps. So that's where and after this, I want to do the securities and the Azure DevOps one as well. And the good thing with Azure DevOps and the securities, you can use the admin one as the way to then get the expert level as well.
Okay, great. So, in your professional career, you are using Azure most of time, and you can say, "I know Azure, lots of stuff. I am working on it for a long time." How did you feel when you need to take an exam?
To be honest, obviously, like you say, I've done a lot of Azure, and it's something I get a lot. You're having chats with people at work, on Twitter, etc. A lot of people like, "Why do you need the exam?" And I'm like, to be honest, I don't need the exam. What I like though is kind of like structured learning to a point. And what I like about doing the exams is that it's that edge cases. It's services that you don't use. For instance, like Azure Front Door, uh, I hadn't really used it or even like I hadn't used it ever, if I'm being honest. Um, and then jumped in and obviously started learning about it. So you've got that edge cases, it's services that you don't use, but at the same time is by sitting it, you get that certification. And obviously, like that, I'm not looking to move roles in it. I'm very happy where I work. I think for me personally, it was more about having like a formal, structured learning. The benefit of actually, hey, wait a minute, this guy's actually done it. I get a big sense of achievement there as well. And also, it is nice to kind of like have a depth and a breadth of knowledge that you don't always get without certification.
Okay, great. So you have done a few fundamental exams like Azure Data Air, and these were different paths. So would you recommend for others to take different
100%.
paths of the exams?
Definitely get stuck in. There's six fundamentals at the moment. I think there's an Azure, there's an AI, there's a data, there's a Microsoft 365, there was a Power Apps, and I forget the sixth. But yeah, it's not just about Azure. You can do it for Microsoft 365 as well. But yeah, definitely start. That's the first one. They're also cheaper as well. So as well as that, what I like about the fundamentals is it gives you the ability to do a low stress exam, and it gives you an idea of what that exam experience is going to be like. Like, for instance, I have a really nice chair. I've got a Herman Miller Aeron chair. When I went in to do it, I just used the normal chair that was in that space, and I sat down. But for the architect exams, I brought in my chair because I knew it would be much longer time. But yeah, definitely the 900 series, the fundamental series is fundamental to your Azure learning.
Mhm.
Sorry.
Okay, guys. I wonder your experiences. Some of the examples, for example, Azure Administrator and Azure Cloud Architect, because their names looks harder. It looks harder exams.
Definitely a good. I mean, what I would say is like I study for a fundamentals exam for like maybe a week, and then yeah, cool, pass it. And it's normally always 90% plus. The admin exam I studied for 4 months, 5 months, but there was some gaps there because I'd lost a little bit of impetus, and then um, but yeah, the admin exam was hard. That if I'm being honest, I was actually doing a talk on a Thursday night, and then I went to reschedule my exam, and I forgot that it was the next morning. So I didn't have a choice but to sit it. So I passed it, thankfully. There was lots of cramming very early in the morning. So I'd done my talk. I was finished. It was 8 p.m. I was like, there's no point in starting now. I'm tired. But I'll get up at 5 in the morning. And then I spent like 7 hours like cramming, and doing test exams. Thankfully, I passed. But the Azure Cloud Architect was difficult, but achievable. That definitely took me probably I think in total about 3 months, 2 3 months. But the good thing with the admin and the two architect exams is you can actually learn all the content and then go and do them. Like, for instance, the architect exam, I did them one on the Friday and then one on the Saturday. I found that that gave me a very good breadth and depth of knowledge because I was actually technically preparing and about to sit two exams, but the content was very, very similar. Much like the admin, it's more just the depth and the level and where you're coming from. It's slightly different.
Okay, so what did you use to learn? What are the training materials?
So training materials, I am a big fan of using multiple types of training. So, what I Microsoft Learn, Microsoft Learn is absolutely fantastic. Could you share my screen and I'll just show everyone?
Sure.
So huge fan of this one. So obviously, as I mentioned, I'm doing the AI 900 on Sunday. So what you'll find is each exam has its own page. So you can come in, and obviously this is the Azure fundamentals. So you can see that £69. One thing just to be aware of, that's £69 plus um, your local tax. Oh, actually, sorry, one thing I did. I'm also a Microsoft certified trainer as well. That was something I got in September as well. I completely forgot about that.
Okay,
But what you
amazing.
can do is obviously you've got the skills measured. Treat this like this is the absolute Bible. Download this, put it on your desktop. Hopefully, the only thing on your desktop. But what it does is it gives you the breakdown. Like, for instance, I know that between 15 and 20% of my exam is going to be on describing artificial intelligence workloads and considerations. Um, so yeah, that's the thing. When you go in, treat this like it's the absolute Bible, because ultimately this is this is the breakdown. And if you are sitting exams, then look for things that you're a little bit weaker on. But you can see here, so for instance, this is the AI 900. So you can come down and you can see here that I've been doing the learning path. Obviously, the learning path for this is a little smaller. So each one has a few different modules. So you can see here, there's what, one, two, three, four, five, is that five modules? Sorry, five paths, and then obviously some have four modules, some have six. What you can do as well, for instance, you can actually see this for say, the 304. One thing just to be aware of though is obviously the normal exams are a little bit more expensive. Again, same here. You can download. You should see here that the knowledge requirements are a little bit longer. And yeah, but yeah, Microsoft Learn actually you can go in and for instance, this should all be completed. So, like for instance, there's 12 modules just on Azure networking, and then you can come in, and each one has its own sub module. So you get in here, there's 12. So if you want to know about service availability, APIs, etc., you want to talk about all this, then there is a course for it. So this breaks down exactly what's on this course. So there's a lot of hands-on stuff. There's also hands-on labs that you can use. I'm personally, I used a lot of that, and I also looked for Tech Trainer Tim. Um, so what I have is Skylines Academy. Huge fan. Shout out to Nick Collier at Skylines. For instance, you can see here that I've done the DP 900. There's the 303 as well. There's the AZ 900. And then that's the older version. But yeah, obviously you can see here that I've done the 103. I didn't do the 104, but really great content. It's all done by Nick Collier. Um, it's funny. I work at Octopus Deploy, and one of the guys I work with is Michael Levan. Michael works in our DevRel team. He actually has his own course on here. So the fundamentals exam. So Michael, if you are looking, you can see here 900. Check it out. Michael actually wrote this course and presented it. So it's just something to be aware of. But yeah, along with that, I also use Pluralsight. So for instance, this doesn't work for all. So like for instance, the AZ 303, you can see here, lots of video. So I like a lot of video up front because I can consume that quite a lot, but also it doesn't require lots and lots of studying. And then what I then do is I then fill in the gaps by then running through Microsoft Learn. And then from there, for instance, as well, Pluralsight also has some really great certification stuff that's all part of it. Thankfully, I'm lucky enough to have a free Pluralsight account through work. But definitely Pluralsight is well worth it. There's also a lot of really great stuff on there for free. So at the end of that, what I tend to do is actually use WizLabs. So again, you can see here I've got the 103, the 303, and the 304. So you can actually just go in and like the 303 exam had quite a lot, but the 103 had quite a lot. In this instance, there was only actually about 100 and is that 165 tests. Sorry, 165 questions. Whereas the admin. So yeah, big fan of Microsoft Learn. I'm actually on Reddit as well quite a lot. Like you've got Azure certification subreddit, lots of great stuff on there. You can talk to people, Twitter, as well as there. But yeah, lots of different sources. But where possible, try and get some video, try and get some text, try and get some exams. And then from there, obviously, once you start hitting 70% plus, then it's time to book your exam. Also, if you do book your exam and something comes up, say you become unwell, you can change it as long as you have 24 hours notice. You can push it forward. Obviously, you can't push it back. How about sorry, pull it back. But yeah, you can schedule it with up to 1 business day. If you do want to pull it forward, like for instance, if you booked, say, the 3rd of January and then you want to pull back to the 3rd of November, I believe there is a small surcharge. I've never done that. Um, but I've read it in the terms and conditions, but I've just never saw it. But yeah, Pluralsight, Wiz Labs, there's Cloud Skills, there's lots of stuff out there that you can use to learn. But yeah, um, video helps me. Then actually doing the labs as well. The thing I liked about Microsoft Learn is you get free compute, so you get a lot of sandboxes that you can actually run it. Because big thing that I like is, certainly a big fan of um, running through and talking about it, but being shown it. I also have a higher percentage of actually retaining that info by doing it. I've got the highest percent. So do things, where possible. Definitely try and do all of the Azure things.
Okay, great. So what about the practice exams? Are they really similar to the real exams or just practicing?
Like the measure up ones, I still go on occasionally and have a look at them. The measure ups are nothing really like it. But the Wiz Labs are quite similar. Sometimes they're a little bit too similar, if I'm being honest. There's sometimes I do wonder if people are sitting exams for Wiz Labs, um, but yeah, they're very very similar, but they can also be wildly different. But yeah, they can be very very different, but I mean, ultimately, as long as you're getting a good pass rate and they don't seem too easy, then you should be good to go. But
Okay.
yeah, Wiz Labs is fantastic.
So may I ask you a personal question?
Of course.
Okay. So there are some exams called beta exams.
Yeah.
So what do you think about the beta exams? Are these necessary to be taken?
I've never done one. I almost did one. I almost did the 304 in beta. I think do them. Personally, I don't think Microsoft should charge for them. I think they didn't used to, but like the exams can be in beta for 3 to 6 months. Um, if I had to sit an exam and wait 2 months for the set like that for that to come through, I don't think that's a great experience. I don't personally think you should pay for them either, because ultimately you could be paying and spending all that time to test an exam there may be problems, but I mean, it's there, and obviously you want to make sure. Not a huge fan of paying for a beta though. I think like that it should be a free exam, or make it like £10. Oh, one thing just to be aware of. Obviously, the Microsoft the MCT, the Microsoft Certified Trainer, that is something you can get with a current Azure subscription. Um, and one of the things that I like about the MCT is you get a 75% discount on all exams. So if it's say £100, then the exam would cost 25. I have to say that's a really nice feature.
Okay. Thank you very much for joining me today. So anything you want to add?
No, I mean, obviously, if you get any questions about, I can't tell you what was on the exam. Obviously, I've signed an NDA. But if you do want to get in touch, if you get any tips, if you get any, if you're a little anxious or anything, just reach out to me. I'm on Twitter, on DevOps Derek. That's generally the best place to catch me. My DMs are open. More than happy to. Hey, but don't come asking what was on the exam. Yeah, don't do that.
Okay. Thank you very much for everyone watching us, and thank you very much. I hope seeing you again in another episode.
Awesome. Thanks, Mert.
Okay. Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye, everybody.
Bye.